right, pickle people, we are back. It's another episode of Is This a Pickleball Podcast? I'm your host, Matthew K. Pickleball, and I am joined by professional golfer, Mr. Wilson. How are you? I heard you were hitting balls today, this hot LA morning. How was it out there?
Hey, yeah, I actually was I was hitting some different kind of balls, but it was good. The good thing about golf is that for the most part you start pretty early. I my tee time was at 7:15 in the morning. So probably not your kind of sport since
Ooh.
you're not quite a morning person.
That is true. I do not think I would be making that tee time. I can hardly make it to open play before all the seniors take it over. So, yes, I'll stick with pickleball, but glad to hear you're diversifying your interests. Maybe if you really stick with this golf, you'll sort of slack off on the pickleball and I'll be able to get some more hits on you. So, all right. Well, all right, folks. This is not Is This a Golf Podcast? This is This a Pickleball Podcast? And you definitely want to hit that subscribe button because over on the Matthew K. Pickleball YouTube channel, we are always doing giveaways. I actually just gave away a Honolulu CR paddle as well as the Spartus P1 paddle. Those are two of my favorite releases of 2026. And some lucky winners are going to have them for free. But don't be too sad. We still have a Volair Shift paddle giveaway on the channel. Plus, if you want to give away today, you're at the right spot because we are doing a giveaway on today's pod. And let's just move right into it. It is with our fit check. What do you think? What do you think of today's fit, Mr. Wilson?
Ooh, I like it very much. I always love the Asian cat thing, the that you see at Asian restaurants. I love anything that has to do with that.
All right. Well, yeah. So, that famous little, I don't know what you call that, but his arm moves up and down. And so they've got the little paddle in its hand instead. This t-shirt, as well as this hat, are from a company called Pour Sport. We've highlighted them on the channel before, but they just came out with a slew of t-shirt designs and they have partnered up. We are doing a giveaway. If you would like to win a free t-shirt from Pour Sport, listen up because this is what you've got to do. You've got to like this video on YouTube. If you're one of the 3 people that listens to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just jump over to YouTube, like this video over there, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then comment which shirt from Pour Sport you want. Check out their site. They've got a ton. This is one of them. They have this awesome Nintendo one as well. They've got a slew of designs that I really like. And then we're trying to do more than one giveaway with Pour Sport, but to make that happen, they've got to see some follows over on their Instagram. So you need to follow them at poursport.shop over on Instagram and throw at Matthew K. Pickleball a follow over there as well. And that's it, other than you also have to fill out a Google form down below so I have a way to contact you if you win. And so if you want some free Pour Sport gear, if you want to look slick on your open play courts, or maybe you got a tournament and you want to go there in style, maybe get 2 shirts, match with your partner, check Pour Sport out. They've got some great gear. And now, Wilson, so you might have to enter this because what's this shirt you got? What are you wearing? You don't got no fun designs right now. So you might have
No.
to enter this one.
Yeah. You know what I really like though? I You have a sweater, a yellow sweater with a similar design with a cat on it, and I can't seem to find it. I think you have to link the link to purchase that below or something because I need to get one for myself.
Yes, that sweatshirt is from a paddle company, a very similar design to this, but it's from a different company. Um, I
Is this
cannot think of the name.
slap something?
Slap Life. Slap
Yeah.
Life. But I don't know if they have that sweatshirt anymore. It's
Oh.
actually kind of funny. Pour Sport saw that video where we featured that, and they were like they thought this was super original, this particular design, and they were kind of like, man, someone did it as well. But this t-shirt's got that vibe too. You can select different colors. I'm not sure if they've got that mustard yellow that you're liking from Slap Life, but check Pour Sport out. Slap Life's got some good apparel too, but today's giveaway is Pour Sport. Pour Sport, thank you for partnering with us on that. And now let's move right into today's sponsored segment. Today's episode is powered by IntuitSport, a performance-driven sports equipment brand dedicated to giving athletes everywhere access to elite level gear without the elite level price tag. IntuitSport is rapidly expanding its lineup across multiple sports, with pickleball front and center, all with one mission: make high-quality, innovative equipment affordable for everyone. They believe the playing field should be level and the best gear shouldn't be reserved for the few. While pickleball is their current focus, IntuitSport's product range is about to blow up, and they're quickly becoming a company to watch. Check them out at IntuitSport.com and use promo code MatthewK to save 15% on any product. Thank you to IntuitSport for powering today's episode. And Wilson, you're going to have to check out their site. I can't remember, but IntuitSport is like involved with a ton of other sports, and maybe they're involved with golf. So you'll have to go check out their site. And then,
I will.
Folks, I know you don't think... Good. And folks, I know you don't think Wilson and I ever play together, but we are actually... We're drilling today. Can you believe that? Matthew K. Pickleball is going to drill. Yes, we're going to drill. And Wilson, I thought I'd bring this paddle so you could hit with it, because this is a very, very unique build. This is not a normal Gen 4 build. And so we're going to have you hit with this. And I think it's time that we get a little mini review from you on this, hopefully on the next pod. And that brings us to the first question I've got for you, Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
I got a hot take. I got a hot take. All right, folks. I have been, I watch videos. I watch review videos for pickleball, of course. But to be honest, I actually watch more review videos in the electronic space, like the MKBHD videos. They're different. I've always watched gadget review videos, but I've also watched a lot of pickleball review videos, and I've got a little bit of a question for you, Mr. Wilson. This might get me in some hot water, but I want to know. I don't even know if we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but do you think AI will ruin pickleball gear reviews? Do you have an opinion on this? Do I need to explain it a bit? What do you think? Do you already have a hot take, or do I need to dive a little into this?
I don't think it's a hot take. Well, no, it is maybe, but I think it could affect pickleball reviews, or just reviews in general. I feel like it's gonna make everything really cookie cutter. And, I like to watch different reviewers because they have their own personalities. And, if you're going to use AI, I think it's going to be very similar or something. I'm not too familiar with those areas. So maybe you could, what is your hot take?
Let me break it down. All right, folks. This isn't really something that gets talked about over at Open Play, but I've noticed, I think, some reviews seem to really utilize AI in their scripting. And this really got brought to my attention because, first off, folks, I do have a writing background. I went to film school. I did the Hollywood grind, screenwriting and all that, had a script, become a finalist at the Sundance Lab, and then try to push that during the COVID time. Almost got some financing for the film, got really cool cast attached. Omicron happened, if you guys even remember what that was. And I had been pushing that independent film. It's an addiction drama. Hey, if anyone's looking to finance an addiction drama that's a Sundance finalist, hit me up. But ultimately, Omicron happened. It was a crazy time, and I just couldn't get it to the finish line. But I have a background in writing. I've studied all of that. And then when that whole project, I had been pushing that since, finished film school at USC, did the whole independent, starving artist grind for the longest time. And, I got that as far as I could. And then when I realized it wasn't going to happen, I had to mourn it, because I had been working on that. That would have been probably at that point 8 years from, the very first kind of like page one on Final Draft to, Sundance Lab finalists, to attaching some producers, to attaching cast, to attaching a film broker. I know we're getting into the weeds, but it was quite a journey. And when that when I couldn't get it to the finish line, when I couldn't get the last piece of financing to go film, because COVID, there was even more expensive requirements at that point to go into film production because of the safety protocols. When I had to mourn that it didn't come to fruition. That's when a friend invited me to go play pickleball, and then I went and played pickleball. My addictive personality fell into that. And then, fast forward, I got decent at pickleball, and then I started to hate pickleball because I was chasing good games. I wanted to improve, and at open play, I couldn't get good games. And then that's when I had been watching YouTube reviews, because like Wilson and we had actually met at that point, and I was always I was on a budget, starving artist on a budget, and so you and I both got that $100 X-Pac paddle. We both watched reviews back then. And so then I got the X-Pac, and then I played with that. And then, I wanted to level up again. And I really got into watching the paddle reviewers at that point. And then I was like, what the heck? I could do that. I could make videos. I know how to turn a camera on. And so that's how I got into reviewing. And that's how I was able to go to open play instead of trying to learn a skill every time and get good games and try and play get better and better. I was just, how does this paddle play compared to the last paddle? And so that's how I got into the review game. And that is all background for, so I have this, I've always been a writer and all of that. And recently, AI has become a big topic in podcasts and the other media I consume. And it's a big conversation about in Hollywood in particular. And my first real realization, AI was being utilized on the writing front was actually a pickleball company had sent me an email one time. Kind of hyping a launch that they were doing. It had all these emojis, and then at the end of the email, the owner actually apologized and said, sorry if this seems crazy, I'm really into the AI right now. And so that was really my first taste of someone using AI to help write. And then my girlfriend, she's involved in film and now marketing, and she actually clued me in how a lot of folks are utilizing AI to help write emails and whatnot. And so I became aware of it in that context. And then I also do a lot of video editing. That's kind of my pay the rent job. I know you guys can't tell from the way these videos are edited, but yeah, I do get some. That's kind of how I pay my rent. And I actually started using there's some tools that came to my attention in the video editing space that utilized AI. One of them being caption creation. That used to be a terribly difficult thing to do with videos, was getting captions. And all of a sudden you could run it through a program and boom, they knew what you said. They had it typed up. And I that's where my shorts on YouTube, where it has the words pop up. AI does that. And then that came to my attention. And then through some of the services I was using for those captions, they started pitching me edits of different videos for shorts in particular. The machine was editing the videos. And then fast forward, I've been using this service. All of a sudden, they add this feature. They're pitching me summaries of our conversations. They're pitching me bullet points and all these different things. And I started to see that this AI stuff is pretty crazy. What was interesting though about their summaries of our conversations, of my reviews, they were pulling stuff that was not correct, though. So they're scraping. So AI basically, they have access to different ecosystems of information. Some, scrape different things from the internet. Some are walled off gardens. But basically, it's got a point of view based off of words it has consumed. Or I think they can even ingest other content. And it will just write for you. But it's often kind of not correct. And so I kind of got familiar with the AI, like the way it talks. And then I've keep watching YouTube reviews. Like I don't watch as many pickleball gear reviews as I used to, but I do think maybe there are some folks that are utilizing AI to either help write their scripts, maybe write their scripts. I don't know. There's no way for me to confirm this. I mean, I guess I could ask the folks, but occasionally I see a video and I'm like, was this you? Did they use AI for this? Because our friend Maddie, one time commented, Maddie Rutt 2922. He one time commented on one of my shorts that was clipped from my SLK avatar review. And folks, if you haven't checked that video out, you definitely should. That's a very cool paddle. I had this little analogy because once again, I'm like a writer. I like to put words together. I'm a little wordsmither. He asked me one time. I had this I was comparing the SLK avatar to the boomstick, and I was talking kind of about the feeling that you get or how the paddles feel urges you to play, and I conveyed that the avatar lets you target like a paintbrush to canvas, and I was really talking about how it holds the ball. And you can kind of carry and then control your shot. And then I said that boomstick was more like a typewriter, kind of like succinct, it's like not necessarily poppier, but you don't get quite the same feeling of the hold. And so I was just trying to convey these differences in feel and how they let you approach your game. And he commented, and Maddie, Rut2922, I appreciate the comment. You're a frequent commenter. He's even won a giveaway before, so appreciate you. But he actually asked, he said, Matthew K, just letting the words flow like a poet, succinctly explaining the difference. And then he asked, did you have AI assistance or were you just feeling it when you recorded this? And Maddie, I actually wrote that script out. No AI was involved in the writing. I let him know. But that question really made me think folks are probably using AI, and my concern is are reviews gonna kind of get gobbled up by this machine and not be super specific, be generic? That's kind of my concern, and that's what I've been enjoying about doing the quick takes. Because for the quick takes, that's kind of a new format I've been exploring on the channel. Folks, if you haven't checked out a quick take, go check them out. I'm really enjoying doing that. They're a little more conversational, but one-sided, more like the podcast, where I don't have quite as a outline scripted out review. In fact, on my reviews, I'm trying to move away from scripts a little bit because I want to convey to folks this is like a real human went and hit with these paddles and is conveying this information. This isn't gobbledy junk from the AI machine. And so, yeah, I don't know. That ramble is just folks, are you all concerned about AI? And it really just taking over the review space? Because Wilson, you know this. I've talked to you about content creation. It's such a rush to get the video out, in particular with the paddle release, because that's when people are hunting for the videos and searching it out. And if you don't get those initial clicks, then YouTube really punishes the video. So I don't know. It's a crazy time. AI seems to be penetrating lots of different things. Out here in Hollywood, it's a huge point of anxiety for folks. And now I think now that I've said all this, are you feeling anxious that maybe you're not getting authentic points of view on gear? Am I crazy? Is this not something I should be worried about? Walk me off the ledge, Wilson, because I'm stressed.
I think you need to go get one of those foil hats now, just in case. You guys are wearing them foil hats. No, I'm just kidding. But it sounds like you are anti-AI. Is that correct?
I am not anti AI. I think AI is
There's
a
a place for
great
it.
is great. I think it's great as a tool for a person. I do not think like companies should be stripping out their workforce to then just have it all replaced with AI. And my concern is because without the human behind the keyboard or the human brain behind the actual thoughts, I think we're going to have even more poor information, like misinformation or just bad information. And so I'm pro AI enabling like creators and human beings to be more efficient, but I'm a little concerned about maybe folks leaning on AI too much to do all the work to that prevents them from actually having thoughts, sitting down and really thinking about, in particular when regarding reviews, really like trying to articulate like your personal experience with a product, with a paddle, and then sharing it. I'm a little afraid it's now going to become, well, we need to get all these bullet points covered because that's what search engine optimization is hunting for. And you're not actually getting someone's actual thoughts. You're just getting these bullet points that have to be kind of like injected into the review, into the video to hit all the machine's points. But I don't know. My reviews have always been a little more conversational. Like people have, back when I started, like I wasn't even like talking about swing weight and twist weight, and like people really like got onto me like you like wanting that information. And so and I've gotten into trouble. I mean, I feel you and I were the first kind of like folks to talk about launch angle and to really talk about paddle feel in particular. We did a whole pod ages ago, like what is paddle feel, like before anyone was talking about, and now that's becoming like a big part of people's reviews. Like John Q did a good job like creating a chart to like kind of help talk about paddle feel, but I actually think it's a little more I think that chart might once again just become like a data point people are like trying to like spit out, because I actually think paddle feel really is more nuanced than a single point on a chart, because I think you have to talk about paddle feel on hard hits, soft hits. You really have to contextualize the kind of player that you are. And so I'm like trying to wrap my head around that particular spectrum that John Q put out, because I've seen all the reviewers are now adopting it. And so I am trying to kind of wrap my head around that and start using that in kind of my vernacular. But as folks know, especially in my interviews, like I just don't think and talk like that. I am aka the pickleball rambler, and so I think that at least provides me some like a badge of like, hey, he's not an AI robot because he just talks all the time. I think another thing that helps like give me some credibility is that you and I have this podcast. I think folks that have a podcast, like it does like convey, oh my gosh, like this person actually goes and hits paddles and has thoughts and can talk because we're in conversation. I think if you're not having the conversation videos, it is kind of harder to like prove that to folks that you're actually
real.
like a person and not just like yeah, you're real. But I don't know, folks, are you all concerned? Are you all watching review videos and you're like, is this AI? Am I crazy? But it sounds like, Wilson, this isn't quite on your radar as much as it is on mine. Am I following you right?
Yeah, I have noticed a lot more of that in my social media, but in my work, it's still very human on, hands on. So I haven't seen that too much in my line of work. So I mean, eventually it might trickle in. So and I may notice it more in the future. But thank you for pointing it out in what we watch and what we consume.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm that's worthy of gratitude, but folks, let me know, are you all concerned about your gear reviews or your product reviews in general being overtaken by kind of like generic AI slop? Like, I'm afraid what I'm seeing, I feel that could be the trend line, but maybe I'm just like I am very invested in this topic being out here in Hollywood, so maybe I'm just an alarmist. So, either Matty Rut 2922, what do you think? If you're watching the pod, I want to know. You asked me if I was using AI a while back, and 3 months ago I see he asked me. So what's your take? I kind of want to know. But anyone else that has an opinion, definitely chime in below. And now we got to get to pickleball news and updates, real world stuff, no AI. I want to start with Mr. Wilson. I have the new paddle from Selkirk because my Dauntless Quick Take, folks, check that video out if you haven't. That people were really interested in. And maybe it's because it came out close to the release, but I asked Selkirk if I could check out their $100 paddle because people were very interested in the Dauntless. And so they sent this to me. Now, maybe no one will click this since it's an older release, but this is the SLK Geo, and this is kind of supposed to be lower level even than the Dauntless, and it's got the T700 grade carbon fiber surface, and it's also using Selkirk's, get in focus, their new take on the MOI tuning system, and they're 5 grams. But this paddle is only $100, and I cannot quite figure out based off the site if it's Gen 1 or Gen 2. And so I'm gonna hit with this thing, circle back. But I do appreciate that Selkirk is doing a $100 paddle because that $333 boomstick that's not in everybody's budget. But this could be a good feeder for their line, and so I want to try it out. It does feel pretty good. It has a premium feel for a $100 paddle, and it's nice that it's from a reputable brand. So I'm going to check this one out. Folks, if you've hit with the Geo, if you've hit with the Dauntless, or if you hit with any of the SLK paddles, this is kind of like Selkirk's brand within a brand that is a little more price conscientious, a little more for learning players. Let me know what you think of them. But I'm going to be checking this out. But that's not my only paddle alert, Mr. Wilson, because you actually asked me about this paddle, and I was like, I don't think I can get it. Well, I got the latest paddle from Everyday Social. This is a full foam paddle. It's called the GRAN Class Power Foam Core. It's in Everyday Socials. This is a premium Japanese pickleball paddle company. It's in their iconic forest green. It's got the gold leaf on it. And for this one, they even did this crazy shiny matching gold edge guard. It is a freaking beautiful paddle. And it is a floating EPP foam core build. And then it does have a PU foam perimeter ring. But what's interesting about this paddle is it's an aramid fiber surface. And so kind of like basically the like non-trademarked Kevlar. And we don't really see that much. We haven't really seen that much in full foam paddles. And so Kevlar is typically, so Kevlar kind of stretches to catch those bullets in the bulletproof vest compared to like carbon fiber, which stays pretty rigid on the aerospace tech that it's used on. And so we haven't really seen this combo that much, and so I'm excited to hit with this one. It's just a beautiful paddle. It is PB Core 43 certified as of November 14th, and they also have it in their lava red color, which is very, very pretty as well. But this is a really cool pickleball paddle company. We have talked about them on the channel before, but they are based out of Japan. And so they're trying to grow the sport there. And I am set up with a promo code with Everyday Social. Promo code Matthew K makes this a little over $200. And so this is coming out of Japan. And these are they talk about their paddles more in like an artisanal way. They're typically limited batches. They'll run through a batch and then they'll do something else. And so it is kind of like you have to go get them while they have it in stock. And so definitely a brand worth checking out. We will be talking about them more. But another update I have to talk about, because this was probably the biggest section of last week's pod, which is the Pakle Fuse paddle. Lots of folks were very interested in this because it is after promo code Matthew K, it's a $92.65 paddle. However, after recording that pod, I found out this paddle is not yet USAP approved. And so we will be I want to talk about how this plays in a bit, but I did want to relay everything Pakle told me about the USAP status. And basically they told me they are expecting to hear back at the end of this month. Apparently a shipment to the lab got lost, so they had to resend or send new paddles. But apparently they did do some internal testing themselves, and the PB core test came out around 0.43. So hopefully it gets fully certified by USAP. And I actually want to talk about, is USAP important to folks? I want to talk about that in a second. But I did want to relay, I have gotten to hit with this paddle. I know you have hit with it as well. But I did want to give a shout out to another subscriber, AZ Crapshooters 5432. He is a Pakle convert because we've been talking Pakle for a while. I did a podcast a long time ago about their original blade paddles and basically predicted that they'll be the next Honolulu pickleball company, and they are definitely following Honolulu's path when it comes to kind of their lines and how they've got some hard to follow names a little bit, and basically just releasing paddles that are in a lot of different flavors. And so you and I became familiar with Pakle because they had released another non-USAP approved paddle that was very, very similar to the original Gearbox PPE. And it was a freaking great paddle, but they ended up not pursuing that paddle. And then they were focusing on the blade paddles, which we've talked about on the channel. And for me, the blade paddles were kind of low on pop compared to the Honolulu paddles that were in similar shapes. What was interesting though about Pakle was they were doing 13 millimeter versions as well, which I did like, but all of them were a little less poppy compared to the J2K. They have changed course completely. I have hit with this paddle. I hit with the EVO, the thinner or the lighter weight version of the one that you've hit with. And these are all poppy paddles with high launch angles. And I did want to share, another subscriber actually is a Pakle convert after watching our pods and our videos. Shout out to AZ Crapshooters 5432. He actually wrote a comment on the last podcast because he actually got this paddle as well. And he had been playing with an EVO paddle just like you. That was one of your tournament paddles. But I did want to just share what he said. So he's played with the Pakle Fuse. At the time he commented this, it was 2 times, 4 hours. And he said he thinks you, Wilson, and him are paddle brothers. You guys got similar tastes. But because he had started maining the EVO, then the EVO reactive. So he actually went to the lighter weight one. And as long as it's not for a tourney, it sounds like he's going to main the Fuse. He said people ask him about this paddle just based off the sound. And yes, this paddle sounds different. 2 people had asked him when he commented the night before, and he definitely said it's more powerful than the reactive. I can definitely attest to that as well. He says it's controllable power, and then people always say you got to play with MPP to know if you like it. For him, he did play with it, and he loves this paddle. great power. Pop at the net was really good. He said resets were great. Ball shaping with top spin was awesome. He said, and then he said if it gets USAP approved and stays at this really sub $100 price point, it should be in running for paddle of the year. I have to 100% agree with his assessment that if this gets approved, it's got to be in contention for paddle of the year. This is an MPP paddle. It's got its floating core. The MPP's in the center, and then it's got TPU foam that doesn't fully encircle, and then it's EVA all around with honeycomb in the handle. And to me, this paddle is the most reminiscent. This thing I think could be like a budget boomstick. This thing freaking goes hard. I would say it has a steeper launch angle than a boomstick, but if the boomstick's a boomstick, if the boomstick goes boom, like we need a bigger word for this, like boom boom. I don't know. This freaking is loud. It hits hard.
I almost took your head off a couple
folks,
of
if you
times
saw that
too.
little video. Yes, I was just about to say that. I put a little sizzle together of Wilson's great play, which was me having to dodge bullets at the last time we played because he, at the time, this had no weight on it. And Wilson has pointed out, and I agree with him 100%, this has a steep launch angle, and he kept driving these balls hard and high. And since you played with it, I did add 3 grams via pickle clips down at the throat. And for me, it has lowered that launch angle. Maybe you could say dampened the pop, but what it's really done is it's made the hold a little different. And so it's a little lower launch angle. So it comes off the face a little lower. So you're not accidentally head hunting. And for me, this paddle, I could control. I wasn't hitting out balls. With my weight set up, and I do have a thicker grip buildup. This is our friends over at Cookie Grips. I'm really enjoying their new tacky grips. Their other grips were just not quite tacky enough for me, and I really like these grips. I also find tacky grips kind of like for how I stretch my over grips. Hold better and stay in place. But anyway, really like these grips. But with the pickle clips down on the throat, one on each side, these are the 60 millimeter 3 gram clips. I found this very usable. I wouldn't call this like a control paddle. This is 100% power, very, very aggressive pop. But this is kind of like if you're hunting for a boomstick on a budget, this is that. You could probably shift the clips up and where the MOI tuning weights are for the boomstick and be like very, very happy. But for me, crazy drives, super loud thunks. This is the boom stick and crazy, crazy paddle. If this gets approved, this is gonna make open play freaking crazy. But I'm gonna ask you in a second. We're gonna talk. Does it need to get approved? Because I have another paddle I want to talk about. But real quick, do you want to summarize? Do you have any new thoughts on the Pakle? Maybe remind folks what you thought about the fuse in the first place. Take it away, Mr. Wilson.
It's a great paddle. I enjoy it because of the power. It's top tier power and pop. As you can, if you watch any of Matt's videos or his shorts, you can see that I've accidentally almost decapitated him a couple of times. Um, and I apologize for that. But yeah, it is all pop and power. It's definitely not a control paddle. You definitely have to learn to use it. But once you dial down the weighting, good thing though, it comes in at a very light weight. So there's a lot of room for customization. But once you dial that down a little bit, add some more weight to it, I think it's a lot more controllable. And with a little weight, I felt very comfortable with it. And like the AZ crap shooter says, if it becomes if it is approved, I would definitely give this a shot at one of my next tournaments. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's high praise. But yeah, so the static weight that they aim for 7.7 to 7.9 ounces. So sub
Low.
8 ounces, so
Mhm.
plenty of room to customize. Like I mean I could throw on double this if I wanted to. And then they are aiming for a massive 6.4 twist weight as well as a 110 to 115 swing weight. And yeah, this is a pretty crazy paddle. I think Pakle, if they get this approved, this is going to put them on the map. I hope Pakle puts in a big order at their factory because these are going to fly. And so, folks, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will keep you updated on the approval status. But I actually got to talk to a paddle company recently. I don't know if you're familiar with Crush Pickleball.
Yeah.
I did a big video on some of their older, like their main line a while back. Check that video out. They have this crazy RQT paddle, racket paddle. Apparently, I think they actually own a protection on that design, which is pretty crazy. It's a wild paddle. If you're looking for reach, then you're not going to find one longer than that. But Crush Paddle, they came out with the, I haven't gotten to hit with this one yet, but their last big release was the Force 5G. I think it was a Gen 2 paddle. They've got a 16 millimeter version that has a 113 swing weight and 6.95 twist weight. And then this one here is the 14 millimeter, 108 swing weight, 6.5 twist weight. And this paddle is USAP approved. I believe this was their last one that they did that I hadn't covered in my big breakdown video. However, I had a convo with them, Mr. Wilson, with the owner. And we were on the same page about a few things because he reached out. He wanted to see if I wanted to cover their take on a full foam paddle. Ooh, they have a really nice case on this with this little tab. But this is the Covert Gen 4. This is a foam paddle. They say it's a full unibody frame, reinforced foam core with a power strip. I think that was a strip of carbon fiber when I talked to him. I think that's what he mentioned. And then they're doing the 45-degree angle that I've talked about before with the Franklin C45. We've been talking about that with the Friction Pro V2 from RPM. I really think more companies should look at that. And this paddle for an elongated also has kind of a lighter 113 swing weight, 5.7 twist weight. And right now it's on sale, full foam paddle, for $130. And I am trying to get set up with a promo code, so definitely try promo code Matthew K. It might be less. I'm not quite sure. But the reason I want to highlight this paddle, Mr. Wilson, is, do you see? There's no stamp, no approval stamp, no USAP, no UPA approval stamp for this paddle. They did not put this through an approval. They did not try to get it approved by any governing body. They just wanted to make a durable foam paddle for rec players that was going to last and that they could just price as low as possible. Because as we know, UPA is very expensive. USAP has raised their prices. And the complaint that we're seeing, the thing that we're seeing everyone concerned about right now is longer lasting grit. And so, or the best grit you can get. And so they made this freaking gritty. I don't know if they did the durability thing, but they made it super gritty. And he's very concerned though about like he made it not crazy powerful or anything like that. He just wanted it to be a durable foam paddle with very good grit. And at as low price as he could. So didn't do any approval. And apparently it's been selling very well. And I want to know, Mr. Wilson, we're seeing companies, we've got 11624. They just went UPA approval for their latest line with that crazy longer lasting grit, which everyone is saying like the claims seem to be very true on that. And then Honolulu, they're doing their take on longer lasting grit, and we don't even know if it's going to get approved or not. And folks are buying these paddles that do not have USAP approval. And here's one that doesn't have USAP approval, doesn't have UPA approval. Does approval matter anymore? I think because of these now two choices, UPA, USAP, consumers on my big, I believe it was my Spartus P1 video, I did a survey. Do approvals matter? Do you need the USAP stamp? And lots of folks said they don't need either stamp. Lots of folks said they could go with UPA or USAP. It does not. I did not just get a slew of it's USAP, it's USAP. Like that's how I am, because that's when I started. It was USAP or bust. And now, because I think we've got these two bodies doing approvals, I think USAP, like, people are not needing that stamp as much. So my question is, do you need any stamp at all now? And so Crush is testing this out. What do you think, Wilson? Where do you stand? Tell me. I need to know.
I think there should be some sort of approval, and that's only because I am coming from a tournament player. I'm never going to go pro. I don't plan on going pro. I don't think I could. I don't have the skills to go pro. However, I do play local tournaments, and they require approved paddles. And as doesn't matter if it's USAP or UPA approved, as long as my local tournaments accept the paddle I'm using, then I'm a happy camper. But for the majority of the people playing pickleball, even at the local parks and stuff, when I've asked them, do you have any tournaments coming up, or have you played in any tournaments? And a lot of people actually just don't have the interest to play in tournaments. They just want to go have fun, get a good exercise out at the local park, and they would be happy with that. So for those people, which are, I think, a majority of the people, they won't care if it's approved or not.
All right. All right. Well, I think, yeah, it's crazy, but I think Crush is onto something. I think the fact that so many people are looking at the Pakle Fuse that we were just talking about, like, I'm thinking the approvals are not as crucial. And I do think
One thing though, I think that the approval though is helpful in not making or not allowing too powerful of paddles to be out there. I've had some core crush paddles, I've had some quiet paddles, and I've had some, back then mod TAs that hit extremely hard, and that can be kind of problematic at the local courts, not just tournaments.
I,
So I think there should be maybe like a like a unwritten rule or something amongst the paddle makers. I mean, it's not going to happen, but something that, like, yeah, we won't make it so and so powerful, such and such powerful. I know that Crush is not making a very powerful paddle. It's mainly focused on grit, which I agree that that should be a thing. But other companies may take advantage of that and make something super duper powerful, and that would not be fun for anyone.
I mean, I agree 100% with you, Wilson. I actually, when I was talking to Crush's owner, I posed a question to him, which was, if USAP put out another stamp or approval category that was lower priced, that was, say, rec approved, recreational play approved, as
Mhm.
opposed to tournament play approved, would that be something he would submit to? Because I agree, we need a power ceiling in particular at rec play. And I think back in the day when I started, like, if someone was playing with the non-USAP paddle, it was a cheater paddle. When people were playing with the Diadem Vice, they've got a cheater paddle. They're cheating. They're cheating. And now, like, I do think 11624, a very popular company, going UPA only approval, has shaken things up, because that's when we then saw Honolulu move forward with their kind of grit. And I think I think the shift away from USAP, like small companies are not going to be able to pay for the UPA process. And then if people are buying UPA only approved paddles, like, and taking those to rec play, and then USAP is raising fees, like what's the point of like doing USAP approval if everyone's bringing a UPA paddle now to rec play? And so I do think that might change how rec play is. I hope the 11.624 thing is an outlier. I hope once the testing scenario, right now the rumor is like it seems like USAP spin test is like kind of like in a transition, and so I sense like the paddle companies are just trying to wait for that to get figured out. But I think 11.624 doing that UPA only thing has definitely pushed other companies to consider not going with USAP approval. But small companies aren't going to be able to do the UPA certification. It's just too expensive. And so now they're just going to be unapproved paddles. And I agree, there needs to be like some kind of agreement amongst paddle companies to not make paddles dangerous. And I know Crush, they told me out flat out they don't want a dangerous paddle. And so this wasn't about power, this was about durability and grit. And I posed the question, what if there is a rec approved only thing? And I think he was receptive to that. And so USAP, I know you need to fund your operation because I know you're getting paddles sent and you're struggling to keep up, and the testing you're getting figured out, and you got staffing fees, and I understand that. And so my suggestion, USAP, because I know you watch the pod, right? My suggestion is you create another category that is cheaper for paddle companies to submit to, that is rec play approved. And I think we need a new certification, and then they can continue on with what they're doing on the tournaments. UPA can do its thing, but I think if we're going to keep pickleball growing in the States, and this is the first time since the surge that we're not seeing growth in the States and it's plateaued, I think you've got to keep rec play fun. And if people are getting eyes busted out and bloody noses because everyone's got a bazooka, it's not going to be fun. And so USAP, I think, is the only organization in place that has credibility, even though they've had some issues, but they've got the credibility. I think if they did this, they could get more paddle submissions because smaller companies will start funneling their rec play only paddles to them, and we could keep rec play safe, keep it fun, and not make it too powerful. And that's really the solution that I'm proposing. Ultimately, I wish we could just do all USAP, but I understand that they need a way to make money, and I think this is a way to keep rec play fun and allow them to continue funding their operation, because I know that they are not going to be able to keep up with UPA because UPA's fees are higher, they've got more funding. I get it. So USAP, I hope you consider that. What do you think of that idea? Did you already tell me? I just went on a rant, but do you like that idea?
I think that would be a great option. I mean, I'm not a businessman myself, but that's giving companies a different opportunity to get approval. That could be a potential option.
Yeah, and I think it would also speak to what you're talking about as someone that's not trying to become pro but wants to play in regulated tournaments. I think local tournaments, I'm hearing just people having fun and wanting to play competitive, they don't care about the stamp as long as it's gone through some sort of approval. And I think local tournaments could also just embrace that. And so then we leave UPA cert and the new USAP, that's for the pros, and then we make things work again. But all right, Mr. Wilson, these have been some big bits of conversation, and we are only now getting to what are we testing right now. This is presented by our friends over at SwiftNet. If you're hunting for the best possible portable pickleball net. Check them out. Use promo code MatthewK. They are trying to get the promo code stuff figured out over there. So definitely check them out. And speaking of approved paddles, I want to talk OWL paddles. I've got the CXE, CXE, and the PXE. This is their control version of their quiet paddle that is tournament approved. This is the power version. They're very, very similar. One is just thinner. That's, I think, the big difference between them. These are both $109.65 after promo code MatthewK. Wilson and I have been hitting with a bunch of quiet pickleball paddles. We're going to be covering them bit by bit. I wanted to do a whole podcast about quiet pickleball gear, but then I realized, Wilson, no one's going to watch that video. So we're going to break it up. And I want to start with the paddles that most people know. And these are from OWL. These are the furry paddles. You see, they are hard to play against because they sound different. And I want to go over our takes real quick. And I do want to point out, I did put edge guard protection on these paddles. This is actually tape that came with the paddles, but it does not stick to the edges. So if you're wanting the sleek look, I think you got to go tapeless. I don't know if there's any tape that will work with these paddles, but Mr. Wilson, what do you think? You've hit with them. I've hit with them. Give me your take.
Yeah, I actually like playing with them, and I could see me drilling with them like early in the morning or something with them, so that it doesn't annoy all the residents that live near the pickleball courts I play with. But play characteristics, I do enjoy this one, the blue one. The power one more than the gray one. And that's just because it's a little thinner. And whatever material they're using makes the thicker control one, the gray one, much too heavy to maneuver. So like I told Matt when I was playing with him, I do like the blue one a lot more, the power one. Spin's great because it basically felt right there. Pop and power is there. The pop is not quite there. However they make the core or something, it makes it very plush. It really holds onto the ball, so it doesn't really pop like traditional pickleball paddles. But there is definitely a lot of power, and the cool thing is that people aren't expecting the power because a lot of people associate the sound of a pickleball to the amount of power you put into the shot. And these basically make the same kind of sound, whether it's a dink or a drive. So it really catches people off guard. And I think that is one advantage of using one of these. By the way, the OWL paddle is one of the few quiet paddles that are also approved for tournament play. So, yeah, I really like this blue version, and I could totally play with it. Oh, one thing though, I did notice that the sweet spots were a little smaller and tighter than the traditional honeycomb pickleball paddles. So yeah, a little bit smaller weight sweet spot, but great power, and I just love the how quiet it is.
Yeah.
It's fun to play with.
I agree. These are a ton of fun. The spin's crazy. I mean, it. The hold is very, very, very cool. But the big thing is, this is like a ninja. Like your opponent who's across from the court, like you said, won't know what kind of shot you're doing because the sound is so muted. It's very confusing. The one time I did a league and someone was playing with an OWL paddle and it just messed me up. It's like he was playing mind games the whole time. And it's just like every hit is just very deceptive. And the thing about these paddles, they're very powerful as well. Very surprising power-wise. And yeah, the grab on the ball is just very, very unique. And yeah, they are approved on their site. USA Pickleball approved for all official and sanctioned USAP tournaments, leagues, event plays. Like professional players are using these. And yeah, they're crazy. They use this proprietary called acoustine, I think is how you say it, sheath. And they on their site it says available nowhere else in the world. So very unique surface, very different. And yeah, these are crazy. In fact, they have now come out with a new release called the Talon X1. That one is a bit pricier though. It's $194.65 after promo code MathUK, and that is actually being used by Jack Monroe and some other professional players. And yeah, it's using the same material or the same system. And it's just I'm gonna try and get us one to hit with. I actually won an owl giveaway, which I thought was for that paddle, but it's actually for one of these. And so I reached out to see if they could swap it out. So fingers crossed. Owl, we want to check out the Talon. Come on, help us out. But that, like, if they made it more powerful, that's crazy. And so yeah, powerful paddles, super quiet. Crazy that these are approved, but they are. Folks, if you know how this got approved, comment down below. But very interesting paddles. And if you all are interested in quiet pickleball gear, definitely subscribe to the channel because we will be covering more. But yeah, just very fun paddles. And now that I don't think they were released at the $109 price point. I think they were more expensive when they came out. But at that price, like, I think these are easy recommends because yes, they're these quiet ninja paddles. So they're just they give you an edge. And then if you are in a place where noise is an issue, it lets you be more considerate. But yeah, just very, very, very fun paddles. Like, just a lot of fun. All right. And now I need to take a break from talking. The folks are always saying, shut up, Matthew. And that AI rant and that approval rant, like, has me parched. And so I want you to go into the new paddle from Pickle Poppers, the pink and rose, I believe. I think you've hit with that. Break it down. What's it like?
Yeah, so it's actually the pop and pink, and I'm actually digging this pink. But one thing though, this might be one of the few standard shape paddles that I enjoy playing with. As most of you know who follow Matt and watch the podcast, I'm mainly an elongated paddle user. And but this one, after I got used to the length, I really grew to like this. I like to compare and say that this could potentially be like a foam Annalie Waters paddle. It does have the similar rounded shape like the Annalie Waters paddle, and yeah, it has great power. So this is their, I believe, Pickle Popper's first version, first foam paddle. And all I can say is that this thing is powerful right out the box. But as you can see, it was a little too light. This is kind of geared towards women. I don't think it should be geared for any gender specifically. It's more for people with smaller hands or who may be a little weaker and can't quite wield a heavier paddle. Because this out of the box, I don't know the stats. Maybe Matt could help, but it's super light and the grip is only 4 inch in diameter. Most paddles are 4.1. A lot of them are 4.25, but this is only 4. This thing is tiny. But throwing on a couple of grips or a couple of wraps, athletic wraps, and you can thicken this up really nicely. But yeah, this is a 16 millimeter paddle, and there is good plushness to it. It's poppy and powerful, but it doesn't. I'm learning to use Matt's analogies. It really kisses the ball really well. But yeah, all in all, it's a very powerful and fun paddle. Very controllable because of the standard shape. Great sweet spot down here, but as you can see, I used some pickle clips actually that I recently got, and I put it up here to increase the swing weight a little bit because it was a little too light for my personal preference. And it allowed me to raise the sweet spot a little more so that I could, it played a little more like a hybrid versus a standard shape. But yeah, if you want, since I guess Annalie Waters doesn't play for Paddle Tech anymore, but if you like that shape and everything, and you want something a little more durable, a little more powerful, a little more consistent, with a better sweet spot, you might really have to look into this. I know probably Matt might have to try
Oh,
out my setup. He might actually really enjoy this.
all right. I am definitely going to get this one set up. I'm hearing great things. First off, this is a very good deal for a full foam paddle. $144.50 after promo code Matthew K. And I'm actually doing a video about my favorite MPP paddles. And I'm trying to figure out what my fifth one will be. And so this is built with it is a multi-density foam paddle, and my understanding is that it is MPPE, so microcellular polymer enhanced. And so I'm not quite sure if that's different than MPP, but and then it also has TPE, but basically its center core is here, and it is kind of in a diving board fashion because the edge foam actually, maybe I can throw up a little image of it, but it's in a wave pattern. So not crazy different than the notch foams that we see from Honolulu Pickleball, but it is configured differently. It's in this wave pattern, very unique. I haven't seen a construction like this before. But yes, they've made it super, super light. They are aiming for a 7.5 ounce static weight, and that's for a 16 millimeter dual density foam build. So that's crazy light. And yeah, it sounds like, did you talk about the power? Like, what would you compare?
Oh,
What power does it sit next to?
yeah, this pop and power is top tier. It's definitely not as powerful as my elongated foam paddles like Loco or anything, just because it's lacking some of that leverage. But what you lose in leverage and power is the maneuverability. You have the power and the maneuverability. As long as you're used to the shape, the standard shape, or you can adjust to it, this is a great option for fast hands and quick putaways at the kitchen line. This was definitely very fun at the kitchen when I'm dinking, and when I'm in hand battles. This is definitely it. And when I'm in the baseline, it requires a little more effort for me, but really fun in doubles.
All right, all right. So yeah, sounds like it's a featherweight banger. You've got the foam, the promise of foam durability, under 150 bucks after promo code Matthew K. And yeah, this thing's popular. On their site, they've got multiple batches that they've said have been sold out.
Yeah.
So if you want to grab one of these, you probably shouldn't sit on it too long. And yeah, it seems like we've talked about pickle poppers before. They've made some Gen 2 paddles that were in the vein of bread and butter. It does not seem like they took the American. This is a company based out in Korea. It does not sound like they took the American reviewers' notes regarding kind of like tone down the design or the look. But yeah, they definitely are trying to announce that they want this women to purchase this. But I think I've already seen someone at Open Play with one. Like, I
Oh,
personally don't care. I think it looks fine. But yeah, if you want a featherweight banger foam paddle, to be honest, there really aren't a lot of foam paddles in this category, and so I do think the Annalie Waters comparison is very, very. It makes me excited. So I'm gonna check because I've reviewed her old paddles and I was a fan, and so I want to check this out, folks. If you've hit with this or one of the other pickleball pickle poppers paddle, comment down below. Let us know what you thought of them. And now we've got to keep trucking because this pot is getting long. But speaking of lightweight bangers, I don't know if my video is out yet or if it's about to be out, but I'm doing a quick take on the Blade 2, the Pro Blade 2, the new paddle from LUZZ Pickleball. I did another quick take on their Canon and their hybrid Gen 3 paddle glider a while back. And I'm a big fan of the glider. I know tons of people are a fan of the Canon. That paddle is just a little too powerful, too poppy mainly for my taste. But I wanted to check out this paddle. Speaking of kind of lightweight bangers, lightweight foam paddles, this is the Pro Blade 2, and it is a 14 millimeter MPP foam as well. So kind of similar material choices as the Pickle Poppers paddle we were just talking about, but it is an elongated paddle, and this is version 2. There is a Pro Blade from LUZZ that was a 14 millimeter Gen 3 build with 8 millimeter honeycomb, so definitely don't get those two mixed up. But this is a full floating MPP center, and it appears based off of their site to have 2 foam rings, something they call the inner charge. The inner ring is a charge ring. I think it's MPP. And then the outer they call control. I'm guessing that's probably EVA. And this is a paddle I really like. It comes in once again at a lightweight. This is 7.94 ounces static. That's what they're aiming for, with about a 114 swing weight and about a 5.9 twist weight. And this paddle is what I was hoping that SLK Dauntless would be. To me, I'm describing this. I know this might be a little controversial, but I'm describing this as a featherweight boomstick. And I'm not saying it's got the power of the boomstick, but I think they actually, because they include these little tuning weights with it, which I'm going to talk about a bit, but I think they actually want this comparison because they come with their own little take on MOI tuning weights. This paddle comes with 4 of these. And it also comes in a very cool little box. If you're into unboxing, this comes out of maybe I have a video of it, but it's opens up and then it's appears, feels like a James Bond thing. But I actually think this is what I had wanted the Dauntless to be. This is a full foam paddle with all the durabilities and the promise of durability that full foam paddles have, but it's very lightweight and it is poppy. Folks, I actually tagged Wilson with this paddle, and he told me, Wilson, have I ever body bagged you ever in all the years we played together?
I don't think you have. It was a surprise.
It was a surprise. And so this thing is poppy, which I know some folks like. Do you describe the boomstick as poppy, Wilson?
Oh, most definitely.
Yes. So people love the aggressive poppiness of the boomstick. For me, I've never loved the feel of the pop on the boomstick. It's just a little not familiar to me. Does not harken to honeycomb in my opinion. This does cup on the ball. I felt like my timing and everything was fine, and this plays poppy, but for me, I could shape and control that pop, and it just was very easy to do. And this is once again a 14 millimeter build, so this is a thin foam paddle, and I just really enjoyed it. It is aggressive. It made me play aggressive. It was poppy, but the power is lower. But plenty of power for my style, but I'm not someone that has a heavy driving game. And so the other comparison is the LUZZ Inferno, which is LUZZ's 16 millimeter full foam MPP paddle. And I think this paddle is a very fun paddle. This pushes you to play aggressive. It's got that very thunky MPP sound and performance. This is, to me, a toned down, but still aggressive in the pop, but the power is toned down a bit. I know you got to hit with this. What did you think? Do you agree with my assessment here?
Yeah, so I only got one game in with it, but I did have a lot of fun with it. It's definitely, you definitely know it's like a 14 millimeter. It's a thin paddle. It does have pop. It has pretty good power, but not top tier power. Um, but one thing I noticed that maybe it's due to the thinness of the paddle, but the sweet spot did seem rather small. With and again, I played with I and note that I did not use any of the weights. It was just bone stock when I was playing with it. Great pop, small sweet spot. The and then the power is not quite there, but it does allow a lot of room for customization. Like you see, it came with weights that you can add on to it, and no one's saying you can't add even more tungsten weight or something to it on top of that. So yeah, I think it's a very good, very playable paddle. But it's just it to me it was one quick thing before we continue. It plays a lot more firm than I like to, but again, it's a 14 millimeter. For some reason, I always gravitate towards back to Tide, the speed ups Tide paddle because that's a 14 millimeter as well. But that one holds the ball better. It does dwell a lot better than this one. This one definitely has more pop. That one's a little more dwellier. But other than that, if you like the pop and the feel of this paddle, it go for it.
100%. So the thing about the Tide, which the speed ups Tide paddles, we've talked about them on the last podcast. Those are also 14 millimeter MPP paddles that I think play super aggressively. And the thing about those paddles is they have internal weighting on the sidewalls. And so
Okay.
LUZZ, I believe you didn't play with the one with the weights. LUZZ lets you have the option. If you want to increase that pop, you can put the weights here. And yeah, that's I played it both ways. I actually tried to play with just one of them on each side, and that didn't really do anything. And I was a little confused because I'm used to pickle clips, and so I actually weighed these, and two of these you need on each side to get 3 grams each. These
Wow.
are much lighter weight than the MOI tuning weights, which I believe are 5 grams, and to get up to like the normal amount that people usually like, if you get a pre-cut piece of lead or a pre-cut piece of tungsten, it's 3 grams. And so you have to use both on each side to get 3 grams. You try those out, but I actually think you might as well just like get pickle clips. Pickle clips now makes 3 grams weights, because if a ball hits these do pop off, and that happened to me multiple times. And so you could also just tape them down, but I think you might, if you end up putting weight here, I did notice like the sweet spot did expand a bit with these, and you would get a little bit more a little kind of harder lock on the ball. It wasn't speed up level, but I would think you would want to play with bigger amounts. And so I would check out Pickle Clips. They now make 14 millimeter ones, and try to put two on each side. And so double the amount of weight. But yes, you could see a difference if you add some weight. But to me, I didn't notice the sweet spot being too small without weight. I can see that as a note, but it is a 14 millimeter build. I'm used to I don't hit. I'm used to playing off center, so I don't notice that probably as much as Wilson does. But I think this is a very competitive paddle, and if you're wanting an MPP feel, but you don't want crazy power that you have to like learn to control, like with the LUZZ Inferno or even the speed ups, probably. I think this is the one to look at. This is what I was really hoping the Dauntless would have played like. And so this is to me like a baby boomstick, a featherweight boomstick. It's for someone that wants that aggressive pop, but doesn't want to have to like learn to harness the power as much. And so I think this is a great paddle. Fills, I think, a really good hole in the market. And so it's also a very good price. It's $143.65 after promo code Matthew K. If you spend $10 more, they've got a cooler looking like Chinese inspired design that you can look at. But that's like $40 less than the SLK Dauntless. And I think you're getting a much higher performer. And to put it in context, the boomstick once again is $333. And yeah, I think this is another knockout for LUZZ. And LUZZ, I think, is like really becoming a company that other companies are going to have to contend with, because they are bringing out new tech at competitive price points. And I didn't tell you this, but this paddle is dual certified. And folks, I did check both sites to make sure this is UPA certified and USAP certified. So they're going the opposite way of the other companies getting both certifications. And so really like to see that. And yeah, just I have nothing but good things to say about this paddle. Like, it is a lot of fun, in my opinion. And so yeah, check them out. All right, Wilson, I know we've got to get drilling, but I did want to just real quick go over our first impressions of a couple paddles, and then we'll wrap things up. But I did want to touch base. The Friday Aura paddles are out. You have the Aura Pro, you have the non-Aura Pro, or just the normal Aura. These are out. After promo code Matthew K, the Aura is $119. The Aura Pro is $159. Both of these are Gen 4 paddles. The Pro is in a floating configuration. The non-Pro is more in that horseshoe configuration, but it's got these foam enhancements down at the throat. The thing that separates these paddles from basically every other Gen 4 paddle is that they're utilizing patent pending tech. So Tech Friday owns, called ElasTech, which is this kind of rubber perimeter feature. And I've actually hit with both of these, and I really can't talk about them yet, because for me, that new ElasTech just is different. I've had different impressions on different sessions, and so I'm still playing with these. These are EPP foam paddles, I should note, but I know you've hit with these more, and I think you had an opinion formed on them. So do you want to just let the audience know, anyone that's made it this far in the paddle, are the Friday paddles ones that they should consider? Like, what's the difference? Help me understand it. So what's your take?
Okay, so the Aura paddles are great options at a great price point. And I just want to know, in previous podcasts, when I first started playing with them, I actually suggested that I like the Aura more than the Aura Pro. But the more I played with them and the more time I got underneath my belt with these two paddles, I actually do lean towards the Aura Pro. Once it broke in a little bit. It felt a little better. It wasn't too harsh. I felt like initially when you played with it, it was really stiff, and I couldn't control the ball the way I wanted to. That's why I was leaning towards the Aura, because the Aura feels a little more forgiving than the Aura Pro. But all in all, they're both actually pretty powerful paddles. But the Aura Pro is just an extra step higher on the power scale. And I think for most people, the Aura might be something they would try first. Just because the price point is great, but then also it's a lot more controllable. But yeah, Friday really hit it out of the park with these. I think, and now they even have pros playing with them, so it'll be kind of cool to see Friday at like on a PPA I think probably APP, because these are just USAP certified APP tournaments. But yeah, good for Friday. I think they knocked it out of the park with these. One thing though, I don't know the weight, but they do feel kind of on the heftier side of things. That's one thing I noticed. Even after breaking them in and everything, they do feel kind of heavy. But yeah, great power, great pop, or pro. Great sweet spot on both of them. Like I said, good job Friday. You guys definitely hit it out of the park.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually gave you the heavier ones,
Oh,
static weight wise, but they do. I always do that, Wilson.
hey,
I give
at
you.
least
I
I
weigh them, and
notice
if it,
these things.
I
I notice these things. All right,
you you
without actually knowing the
you do,
stats.
But the average weight that they aim for is actually 8 ounces for the pro and 8.1 ounces for the non-pro. And swing weight for the pro is 116. Twist weight for the pro, they shoot for a 6.15. And then for the non-pro, same swing weight, 116, but a twist weight down to 6.05. So pretty similar stats all around. But yeah, the feel and the builds are really what I'm trying to wrap my head around, how to talk about it, going back to how I'm not AI and I just can't plot these points in my brain and spit it out. And so I'm having to spend some more time on these. I will say the Aura Pro in particular, my very first time out on the courts, like I was ready to like freaking do a quick take on this thing because I really love the feel. And then I did play in a more competitive game with these and I was a little more tired. And then my impression was a little different at that point. And so I'm still trying to just dial in my thoughts on these. So I'm figuring it out. I'll definitely be covering these more on the channel. So make sure you subscribe. But really, the paddles folks keep asking me about, Mr. Wilson, are the freaking RPMs.
Hey.
These paddles I'm getting asked about left and right. And folks, we just got the paddles. We are going to be covering these in detail on the channel. The RPM Q2 is $212. Yes, thank you, James. The RPM Q2 in particular is $212.50 after promo code Matthew K. These are hard to get even for us. I did get the 14 millimeter first of the Q2. This is the paddle James and RPM collaborated with John Q on. It's in 14 millimeters and 16 millimeters thickness. It's full foam paddle. I don't know if you saw this, Mr. Wilson, but Pickleball Studio hit with his RPM Q2. He compared, I think he was talking about the 16 millimeter to the boomstick, which I found interesting because we're going to hit with these today after this pod. We're going to drill if Wilson doesn't give up since this pod took so long. But the 14 millimeter, you and I both got some first hits on it. I didn't get a boomstick feel with the 14 millimeter. So I don't know. Did this read for boomstick to you at all?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Pickleball Studios' take. Actually, it was actually kind of difficult to handle. When I said the Pakle fuse was very boomstick-esque, this is a little even more up there. This one we only tried the 14 millimeter last week, and it was very poppy. The launch angle was quite high. I kept popping it up. I couldn't keep my dinks low. Granted, I only played 1 or 2 games with it, so it does require some adjustments in your play style and strokes. But yeah, they definitely made a very powerful and poppy paddle. And shape, it's their traditional RPM shape, which I enjoy very much. And yeah, it does take some time to get used to. It's definitely too poppy and too powerful for me at the moment. I'm excited to try the 60 millimeter. Hopefully, it has a little more plushness, puckering of the ball than this 14 millimeter.
That is so interesting. Well, I think it comes down to play style. So for me, I don't have as much follow through on my strokes as Wilson does, a higher level player with some tennis background. I'm sure Pickleball Studio is closer. I know he has a tennis background, so I'm sure he has a lot of follow through on his strokes. I am more of a short hitter, and the reason it didn't ring boomstick in my mind, like when I saw that Pickleball Studio made that comparison, I was pretty surprised. But the reason that didn't register for me is like I didn't get a pingy sensation at all. Like it felt pretty like normal to me, the RPM Q2, and that was always like kind of my issue with the boomstick. I even talked about this with James, which was that pingy feel, that feedback just made me feel less secure with how I played. I actually played with the boomstick the other day though, the wide body, And I kind of like that. Like now, I'm a different level player than I was when I first hit with the boomstick, but it's still an unfamiliar feeling, and maybe it has to do with just that sidewall weight. And so maybe I'll put some weight on the sides. Maybe I'll use a pickle clip and see if we get that boom sound. But I've never played. No one's played with the 14 millimeter boomstick, so that's kind of a hard comparison. But that's interesting that you are in the same campus pickleball studio, and yeah, I think it goes to the style of play. Because like for me, the boomstick, that Infinigrit, like I can keep my balls in because I'm not a hard hitter, folks. You know, I'm soft serve. Like I'm an ice cream cone over here. Like I'm hitting. I like to do the banana serve more than anything. Like I'm full ice cream sundae. But I am bringing a harder drive into my game. I think you've now noticed I am bringing a more traditional serve. I try and mix things up. And so maybe I'll have the same concerns that all the normal pickleball players do. But yeah, my initial impressions, I'm impressed. I like the RPM Q2. I think I put a lot more hits on all of them to really get an opinion. But so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. I did, however, get to hit with the OG RPM Friction Pro. And I actually think there's a bigger difference between this and the Pro 4s than I think most people have talked about. I do think it has a different feel. And so I think what I'm going to do is a big breakdown. I think I want to compare the original RPM Friction Pro 16 millimeter to the V2 version as well as to the Q2 version. And so that's the video I think I'm going to do. I think that will be helpful. Folks, is that the video you want? Let me know down in the comments. And if you don't want that video, it's probably too bad because I think that's the one I'm going to do. But I'm excited to kind of like compare all three recipes, and that's what I'm going to work on. And so, yeah, thanks, James, for getting us some paddles. You know, we'd love to get that 14 millimeter V2 if you wanted to send that our way. But excited to check these out. And it is cool. Like, Pickleball Studio highlighted this with his little first impressions video. But yeah, if you like boomsticks, we've been talking about thinner, lighter weight options, ones that let you customize. Because I actually had a guy that wanted a boomstick and he actually took the MOI tuning weights off because he wanted to reposition them for he was setting it up for his girlfriend. And so if you want to be able to customize yourself, tune it yourself, there are now some new options that are coming to market, which I appreciate. And now, folks, that brings us to the end of that section. And real quick, I'll highlight today's featured accessory is the UDRIPPIN Grip Kit. I love this little case here because it's got all the pockets. It's got little zippers. It's super premium. I can throw in all of my grip stuff because I do kind of I'm a little particular with how my grips are set up. And so I can, fit in my measuring tape, all my athletic pre-wrap, all my overgrips, all in one nice little spot. And it's got this little handle. It's very nice. I think UDRIPPIN makes great accessories. They've even got shoes now. Like, they're doing a ton of stuff. They've got great bags. They've got, of course, their great overgrips, lots of different versions. But yeah, UDRIPPIN, they don't get talked about enough. They make great gear. Check them out. And this little grip case is really nice. I really like it. You can fit it in your bag. Very premium. And it keeps all your stuff real handy. And so yeah, check out UDRIPPIN. Promo code Matthew K is set up over there. And now, Mr. Wilson, it is time to make me better at pickleball. What is the tip of the week? This segment is presented by our friends over at BodhiPickleball. That company also makes great accessories, so check them out too. Promo code Matthew K works there. What is the tip of the week?
Yeah. This tip of the week is mainly what you should be doing when your fourth shot. Oftentimes you will, when you're approaching the net, when you're trying to get into the kitchen, your opponent may give you a low and short transition shot. something in the middle of the court. And a lot of people's first instinct is to drive that ball right back at your opponent while you are approaching the kitchen. However, I think that's a very bad idea. From what I've seen Matt do, is when
all your tips have now just become Matthew critiques. But go ahead, I like it. I
hey,
like it.
it's to make you better, okay? What happens is that when you are approaching a low ball at the mid court, you are driving it at at your opponent, but it's going in an upward trajectory towards them. And if you think of like a seesaw, if you hit up, they can hit down back at you. So what happens when when Matt's like coming up, he drives it and they just punch it back down between us, between in the middle or away from us, and we are out of position to return that shot. So what I recommend is when you are approaching the kitchen line, to to give yourself more time to get to the kitchen, try to do a drip or a drop. Set it up so that your opponent has to hit up to you. Never try to hit up to your opponent. You want to hit down so that they can hit it up and you can attack. So yeah, give yourself more time to get to the kitchen by dropping or dripping the ball to your opponent's feet.
Yes, yes. In my defense, it's when I'm on the left side and you guys are hitting short returns or serves to the outside line. And
Backhand.
that in particular is a hard reset for me, especially when it's short because I have to get up to the ball and it's going to bounce off the court. And so I don't know, what do you suggest? The only thing, like, I've been thinking about this, and the only thing I can really think about when is, would you think a good idea would be to shift all the way to the left and try and hit a forehand really good drop and like take my time? I don't know. That's a really, like, so what I end up doing is that's going off. And so I try to do kind of like a slice, like try to hit it backhand and get some spin on it to get it over. But yeah, if you guys are generally up there already and then you put it away, what's my defense in that situation? What do you think I should counter with? Because I don't think it's as easy as like taking my time to get to the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. The first two things is number one, it's the easiest, but it's also physically the hardest. It's the simplest, but physically the hardest is to get to the kitchen even faster, to cut that drop off, to cut that ball off, so you can, so you don't let it bounce. But the other one, which you can do, is to, when you see that your opponent is about to hit, stop, split step, and push off to your left so that you can cut off that shot. So you can receive that ball bouncing between you, as opposed to letting it go outside to your left so that you have to reach for it. You want to catch the ball in front of you between both legs, essentially, between both of your shoulders, so that you are in a more stable position to return the ball off the bounce. But yeah, we will drill that today, and we'll drill some other couple of shots, and we'll make you a better player.
Yeah, we'll follow up, folks, because Wilson is missing that this is often a serve return, and so I have to let it bounce. So I cannot do the approach to the kitchen. But we will follow up. We'll have a slew of tips next week, but we got to wrap up. Make sure you like this video. That always helps. If you want to get in on that Poor Sport giveaway, make sure you do that. It's like, comment, Google form, do all that. I talk about it at the top of the video. And then congratulations again to the folks that won the Honolulu CR and the Spartus P1 giveaways. Don't forget, we still got that Volair Shift giveaway, so check that out. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, hit that hype button, like, all that helps. Make sure you comment, be nice. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon. Wilson, do you hope these folks get to pickle soon?
Definitely. I hope everyone gets a pickle soon.
Great. Just don't forget, it's about having fun.